Welcome back to Squawk on the Street. Investors were chasing safety in the third quarter. The utility spider, ticker XLU, reflecting the top performing sector in Q3. Energy, the biggest laggard. The XLE down about 7%. Both WTI and Brent are in bear market territory as these tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran remain in focus. Joining us this morning is the former Saudi Aramco executive Sadad Al-Husseini, founder of the Husseini Energy Company. It's great to have you back, Doctor. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
I wonder, can you reflect with us on what prices have been able to do in the face of what we thought was going to be at least a bit of a supply shock?
Yes, I think Iran had a plan to create a real shock by taking out over 6 million barrels of Saudi Arabia's oil. But the excellent reaction, the very professional reaction of the operators at the Abqaiq plants in Kuwait were able to put the facilities back on stream real quickly. They had an excellent emergency response. They sidetracked some of the burning facilities, used excess capacity, and I think they're back in line and producing over 11 million just now.
I mean, we still have a lot of observers saying we're in a new chapter of defense, of low air defense, and the technical ability of these drones to attack facilities with very little warning. How much do you worry about that going forward from here?
Well, it is definitely a very serious challenge. I think the big picture, though, is what you need to look at. Why are we having these attacks? What's the purpose? Obviously, there's nobody with the technology in the Middle East region anyway, other than Iran. And so once you link it to Iran, then you have to ask, what's Iran trying to do? The obvious answer is to raise oil prices to such a high level that they would disrupt the global economy and then hopefully, in their eyes, lift the sanctions. But in the long term, that's not going to work, because how can you trust a country with nuclear weapons and missiles if it's going to go out there and sink ships and attack oil facilities? So it is a serious concern.
And yet, you know, this all happens against this backdrop of what investors are concerned about: weakening economic growth, which has seemed to erase the rally that took place shortly after those attacks. So, you know, how do you kind of pair what's going on the global growth side of things with the risk on the geopolitical side of things?
Well, you have an excellent point there, Leslie. You do have two opposing factors at work. The economy is flat. It's not going to pick up very much. So the demand for oil is not going to be there. The geopolitics in the long term has got to be resolved, because if you're going to have a country that attacks facilities of this scale, the next thing they might try is shut down the whole production from the Arabian Gulf. And that's a lot more oil than just Abqaiq and Kuwait. So yes, you have two opposing factors. And I think this really calls on the global community to get involved and try to put some sense into what's happening in Tehran.
A journal this week takes a crack at U.S. production and asks why we're not seeing more robust gains, at least year on year. Are you sensing any slippage in our own ability to produce as strong as it is?
Well, yes, there's no doubt. You know, for a long time we heard about U.S. shale oil breaking even at, $40, $50. Well, that's not enough to recover your capital expenditures. So breaking even may have been good for a while, but in the long term, you need to keep drilling new wells, particularly in the U.S., where the shale oil declines are very severe. And the rig levels, as many of us have been monitoring, have been going down very steadily. So not enough drilling, tougher oil to produce. The best zones, best areas have been pretty well drilled out. So the U.S., yeah, it's doing very well. I mean, let's face it, 12 million barrels a day is a very, very solid production. But the world consumes 100 million barrels a day. So that's not enough to take care of the whole world.
The Saudis spend at least $68 billion. Some have it as more on defense every year. Are you surprised that they have not responded to this attack?
No, I don't think it's that simple. I mean, this was on a Friday dawn. That's like a Sunday dawn for us. It was from a direction of Iran where we weren't expecting anything like this. It was with a very studied and highly technical attack. 18 drones and 7 cruise missiles. The drones carry individually different projectiles. So it was a very sophisticated, low, difficult to detect attack. And frankly, it sounds to me like it was a Pearl Harbor. But this is not the end of it. Where does it go from here? How do you keep Iran from trying more of these kind of disruptions? And how do you change a theocracy which is run by very radical ayatollahs from trying to create a new empire in the Gulf? That's really the big question.
Yeah, but I mean, Pearl Harbor did take us to war with Japan.
Well, this is not Saudi Arabia's war. This is a global issue. The oil that Saudi Arabia produces goes out to the global economy. So it's not as if Saudi Arabia is the holder of all the resources for the whole world. There's also, of course, Kuwait. There's also the UAE. There's a lot of other countries involved in the Gulf. So it's not a Saudi problem. It's a global problem. And the global community needs to step up to the challenge and put some sense into Tehran.